Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Culture Club podcast. It's so great to have you with us today for what is episode 6 of this podcast, and really excited about the opportunity that we have to talk with Pastor Tom. You know, over the last few weeks, we've been exploring this whole area of culture. You know, we started off talking a bit about why culture is so important. And then over the last few weeks, we've been exploring the different points, the different aspects of the culture of our church, the cultural distinctives that define who we are. And, you know, we've come to the 5th of 5 culture points today. I think this is perhaps one of the most controversial of the culture points. It's certainly one that promoted a lot of conversation, especially in the early days. So I'm really excited about this opportunity that we have to talk about the pursuit of excellence. A little bit at the end, we'll talk a bit about what happens next with the podcast. But today we're going to dig into this whole idea of the pursuit of excellence. And I'm really excited to be able to dig into this a bit further. And I know, Pastor Tom, you're really excited about this too. So do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about the pursuit of excellence?
Yeah, I would actually. The pursuit of excellence. You know, when I think about it, we seek to frame it in this particular manner, that the pursuit of excellence is the work that we do to endeavor to reflect some of the excellence of God. What we say when we say we're pursuing excellence is that we're working in such a way that when people see what we've done, they'll see a reflection of God, of God's goodness and glory. Jesus said that we should be like a city on a hill, you know, prominent, not obscure. He says that we should be a light to the world, you know, that there's something, you know, flashy about it. When we talk about the pursuit of excellence, my mind just goes back to the days of Solomon when the Queen of Sheba arrived. And it says that her breath was taken away from her because of what she saw. You know, the pursuit of excellence, put in more modern terms, is providing the wow factor to the life of church. You know, people come in and they go, oh, wow. And they can be wow about the fact that everything is so clean. They can be wow about the fact that our venue is so beautiful and well maintained. They can go wow because the standard of our music is really high. They can go wow because they really appreciate the preaching, and they look around them and they see things and they just go, wow, this is amazing. How can it be this good? The word excellence, of course, it primarily speaks about the character, the nature, the goodness of God. Glory is another word that you can use. When we say that we're pursuing excellence, we're pursuing everything which is about His glory, His grace, His virtue, His uprightness. The pursuit of excellence finds its place, number one, inside of every individual that seeks to pursue it. We want to be like Jesus. We want to be mature. We want to grow. We want to reflect the goodness and the grace of God. We want to reflect the character, the virtue of God. You know, the word Christian means like little Christ. We want to show that we're followers of Jesus Christ, you know, not half-heartedly sort of, you know, living the life, but, you know, heartedly, you know, living the life that God wants us to live. When we talk about the pursuit of excellence, like we say, we're running after God's character, His nature, and His goodness. Our pursuit of excellence is our pursuit of God. Now, this has incredible ramifications throughout the life of our church. But let me just pause there to get some of your comments.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great place to start off from Tom. I think that's one of the things that, you know, I've found over the years that people seem to ask questions about why a church makes the pursuit of excellence one of the key points of its culture. But I think, as you've described so well, that actually we want our church to be excellent because we want it to represent the excellence of God. We want to represent God well to our world, and actually kind of, you know, getting by, near enough is good enough, isn't actually the example that we want to set to our world of what God is like. And it isn't the example that we see in God either, that actually God doesn't kind of do things by halves. He doesn't do a slapdash job of things, but actually God's creation, all that God does is excellent. And actually when we pursue excellence, it's to represent that. I also think I think it's helpful just to outline a couple of things, that it's the pursuit of excellence. So it's a journey rather than destination. It's a constant process of moving toward excellence. And it's about excellence, not perfection. And I think that's really helpful to set out early on as well, that actually we're not saying we're going to be a perfect church. What is it you say, Tom? If you find a perfect church, you should leave because you'll spoil it.
Yeah.
But actually, excellence is about, doing the best that we can with what we have. And really, that's what, for me, is really key. And I think, as you've articulated so well, Tom, actually, this is fundamental, isn't it, to what it means
It is.
to what it means to be a follower of God and what it means to represent God well in our world.
It's all about being a disciple of Jesus Christ on our inward life, the virtue of our inward life, our character, our integrity, our honesty, our humility. When we pursue excellence, number one area is we're pursuing God, and that has an impact on us. The second impact is on the way that we do church. I mean, we're doing church a lot better today than what we did 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. The way church is operating now, it's getting better all the time. And that's because we've committed ourselves to the pursuit of excellence. In the book of Daniel, chapter 6 and verse 3, and it's sort of like a segue now into, what it means to pursue excellence in the life of church. Daniel 6 and verse 3, it says that Daniel had an excellent spirit within him. It was recognizable. People around him saw him. The king saw this. He saw that there was something different about Daniel. There was an excellent spirit. This was translated as to his behavior, his conduct, his work. It reflected this excellent spirit in his attitude and his ethos about life. The king of Babylon, when he saw what was going on in Daniel's life, he says, I like this guy. There's something about him. Because Daniel pursued God, all of these personal areas of his life were in line with his pursuit of God. When it came to his work, he pursued excellence because God was an excellent God and he needed to pursue excellence. And it was that work that he did with the king that brought him through, 6 or 7 other emperors over that particular domain. And, Daniel is a civil servant, lasting through the reign of 7 kings. That's pretty amazing, but everyone saw it, from a non-partisan situation. They saw that Daniel's spirit was excellent. Our challenge is, of course, to live that kind of life in the life of our church and to let it outwork in the way we serve in the life of our church, how we work in the life of our church. There needs to be a personal level of the pursuit of excellence, that we strive for a good spirit, a good attitude, great character, that we become people of integrity, honesty, and humility, and that we're not afraid of a little bit of hard work, and that we seek to do it to the best of our ability. Maybe you'd like to comment there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the phrases that really helps us when it comes to the pursuit of excellence is that kind of whatever it takes attitude that has defined our church. And I think we talked about that in previous weeks, but I think it really underlines that whatever it takes spirit is, whatever we have to do, whatever we need to do, and how much effort it takes to do it, that's what we're going to do. And I think there's something really powerful about that. But I think that's why we resist it, because actually it would be easier if we didn't. There's a part of us that would rather hold back a bit, but actually giving ourselves fully, putting in all of our effort and all of our energy and all of our time, committing in that way is something that we maybe understandably, I suppose, shrink back from a little bit. And I wonder if that's sometimes why we come up with excuses about why the pursuit of excellence shouldn't be in there. We kind of say, well, God will be happy with whatever I do. And God will love us regardless of all of our missteps and mistakes, of course. But actually, I don't think it's about an obligation. I think it's about an opportunity that we have to represent God well to our world, and to push beyond the boundaries of ourselves as well, actually to expand our capacity to get better as people. And, we've talked before about discipleship and about how discipleship happens in teams in the life of our church. And I think pursuit of excellence is key to that, because it's about trying to get better as a person, as you've articulated so well, and that then flowing out and getting better in what we do. And actually that's what discipleship is about: growing, improving, constantly moving forward.
There's always that element of sacrifice as well, to do better than our best requires a real sacrificial spirit. And you've experienced that over the years, as I have as well, how we've spent hours, days, months honing and working through situations staying up till 3 a.m. to make sure church news is done. And, there's been that sacrifice, that personal giving of yourself to show everything that we do to be pursuing the excellence of Jesus. And of course, Jesus has always been the greatest example in the sacrifice that he made. You've used the term already. Some say near enough is good enough. And that's the attitude of some people. And I think it lets you down. As you've also said, this is the pursuit of excellence, not the pursuit of perfection. There's a saying that says, the devil's in the detail. However, the original quote was, God is in the detail. And I just love that. I love the fact that you, for instance, you're very detailed orientated. I tend to love working with the big picture and allowing people like you to concentrate on all those details. But thankfully, I've got people like you around me that can work on those details. And I'm not uninterested in the details. God's in the details, right? I'm not uninterested. But there are some that are a bit more given to that than others. I just want to make sure that the job is done and done to the best level of our ability. The small things matter as we pursue excellence. And I think that's where a lot of people sort of miss out. I remember a story, nearly 14, 15 years ago, where we had to pack down everything that we had because we were meeting in a hotel. We needed to pack down everything. And there was a particular way that we needed to pack down all of our tea and coffees. And there was one lady who just refused to follow the instructions on how to pack down our coffee. What do you call those things?
Flask things. They're not big flasks, aren't they, that take lots of coffee?
Yeah. And because she didn't follow the procedure, we broke more than one. And at those days, 35 to 50 pounds each flask was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But because she wasn't willing to, work through the details, it cost us money. And I think that it'll cost every organization money, credibility. It'll cost them people if they're not pursuing excellence and stretching people to do their better than their best.
Yeah. And I think that's something so challenging, Tom. And I think it's one of the things I've really appreciated over the years is the times that you have encouraged us to do better than our best.
Yeah.
Because I think in a sense, it seems so counterintuitive. Well, I'm doing my best. And I think that's often the defense that we use when we maybe aren't doing things as well as they could be done is, well, I'm doing my best here. But actually, like when you start to think, if excellence is doing the best we can with what we have, I think we sometimes limit our understanding of what we have.
Exactly.
And actually we don't take it to full advantage. It's a bit like you're saying, staying up until 3 a.m. to edit video. Well, that's there was a season in the life of our church when that was what was required. And, probably we've circled back to that in terms of trying to get church online up and running. But it's also about saying, well, how can you then pace it out? Because you don't work at your best at 3 a.m, probably. You probably work better early in the day. So actually, what can you do to change so that you do better isn't about staying up later, but it's actually about changing the rhythm of the week, changing the way that you prepare, giving yourself more time or making more of the time that's available useful time in order to then actually, do better than your best. And I think that it's about giving it full effort in the moment, but also being, thoughtful about it and being considered about it. And I think that there's something really helpful, the times that you've pushed us just a little bit beyond where we feel comfortable is actually when we suddenly gone, oh yeah, actually I am able to do that a bit better than I thought I could do it.
When people say I'm doing my best, it's an excuse. There's an excuse hidden in that comment. Oh, I'm doing my best. I can't do any better than this. However, what you've just said is exactly right. When you push people to perform better than their best, they actually rise to the occasion and can do it.
Yeah.
And again, we begin to distinguish ourselves because we're pursuing excellence, reflecting the excellence of God in all that we do. That's why people come in and go, oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's that sense, as you'd say, of all that we do. Like one of the things that's always surprised me in church life is the thing that makes a difference for people. that actually, 'cause we always assume, those of us who speak will think, oh, it's going to be the message, or it's going to be
Right.
the line that I've spent hours crafting, or it's going to be this insight from the scripture that I've got. And then you speak to
Yeah.
someone after the service and they go, oh, what did you like? Oh, I really appreciated that someone met me with a smile in the car park. I really appreciated that it was a great cup of coffee. I really appreciated that you did, I remember one time I did a really naff drawing on a flip chart in the middle of my message. And that was the thing that everyone, because all of a sudden, all of these visual learners went, oh gosh, great. And it wasn't the best, visual illustration that anyone's ever done, but it was something that I'd never tried before. It was me stepping outside of my comfort zone a bit and doing something a bit different. And actually all of that stuff contributes to people's experience. You gave the example of the Queen of Sheba visiting Solomon. Yeah. And actually, when you read that scripture, what's incredible is, I sometimes have gone through it and asked our team, well, what was it about her experience that impacted her?
Yeah.
It's kind of a trick question, because the answer is everything. She literally lists everything from the waiters to the food to just every aspect of what she's experienced.
To the crystal glasses.
Yeah.
The clothing that the waiters were wearing.
Yeah. And all of it points back to God. And actually, I think that's the thing that it's helpful for us to remember when it comes to pursuing excellence, is that everything we do, I think there's a phrase, everything about you says something about you. And I think it's true for us as individuals, and it's true for church. And I think that's why the details matter so much, is that sense that everything about you says something about you. We were talking in preparation to this, Tom, about light bulbs. I don't know if you want to say anything about light bulbs.
Well, Gary Clark gave a brilliant illustration of what people see when they walk into a building. And unfortunately, it's rubbed off on me as well. But Gary was saying that, someone's going to walk into your auditorium, they're going to look around and they're going to see a light bulb that's not working. And that seems to be the first thing that they're going to see. And it could be the only thing they're going to see. The question in their mind is, oh gosh, I wonder why they haven't fixed that.
Yeah.
And, consequently, me, when I walk into an auditorium, and you've watched me do it a million times as I've watched you do it a million times, we walk in and it's sort of like we take in the whole surrounding in about 5 seconds. And all of a sudden we go, those chairs are not put out properly. Why is the people on stage like that? Why have we got 4 instead of 5, or 3 instead of 5? Why? What's going on? You walk through the atrium and you're thinking, something not quite right here. What is it? And you begin to see bits of rubbish here, and stuff that shouldn't be there, a box or someone's clothing somewhere. And these are the little things. These are the details that you see, because when people who are unchurched walk in, that's exactly what they see. Now, we run the space during the week, Monday to Friday. Back in the normal days, we used to have people in there every day, every week, big conferences, little conferences. And I would say to our team on a consistent basis, I said, now we need to be really, really careful. Most of the people coming in here may not know that we're a church straight away, but it won't take them long to realize that the space is home to Proclaimers Church. And people who are anti-church, who don't like church, they're going to look for every little thing that they can nitpick to make comment about and say, oh, yeah, it's definitely the church, blah, 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 they don't know how to clean or maintain, and, why is that thing? So I want to take away every excuse that they've got by pursuing excellence in everything that we do. The team, I think they get sick of me when I walk in and I say, there's no toilet paper in the disabled toilet. What's going on? There's no hand towels. What's happening to the hand sanitizer? Have you seen the sink in there? It's got a bit of grime on it. Have you guys cleaned that toilet in that area? And I think they just, maybe sometimes they get a little bit annoyed, because I go in and I'm seeing every little thing. Now that we don't have carpet in the corridor there, down towards the bathrooms and to the other back rooms, that thing needs to be swept sometimes 2-3 times a day, just because dust and stuff gets in it. I don't want people to walk in and go, gee, they're not really good at cleaning around here, are they?
Yeah.
This pursuit of excellence is a reflection of God. Okay. And we don't want people to think less of God because we don't have a clean house.
Yeah.
Because we've not pursued excellence in the way that we serve people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I think every little detail is a potential distraction, and every distraction is an opportunity for someone to disconnect. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I see. As you say, the person who's focused on a light bulb, I've heard that, I've lost count of how many times I've heard people on the team at Hillsong talk about how Gary Clark will spot a light bulb that's out. I mean, I used to just think maybe Gary wasn't that into details. He's just really good at spotting light bulbs that don't work. But it's such a good representation that, yeah, people will, like, if you or I are on stage doing a message, the last thing we want is somebody thinking, I wonder why they didn't change that light bulb. Actually, we want them to listen. So we're trying to remove as much distraction as possible. I remember in the early days, I wore a t-shirt that had like some writing on it that was a bit obscure. And when I finished the message, someone came up to me and was like, what does your t-shirt say? And I was like, oh, it says,
I know.
And they said, oh, right. I spent the whole message thinking about that. And you're like, I spent how many hours preparing this message, preached my heart out. All you could think about was the t-shirt. And I've never worn a t-shirt that says anything since. Literally, like, unless it's obvious, unless it's like one of our Restore Hope t-shirts or something, which are available now, I will not wear a slogan on a t-shirt because that day was like just heartbreaking for me. But I think our social media team see it now. Like I'm kind of more involved in that now. That's one of the key expressions of our church online, and they'll know. Like, I'll be like, yeah, that's 2 sentences. Could it be 3 sentences? Would it be better if it was 3 sentences? Are we going to lose people because there's an extra clause in there? There's a typo. What does the typo say about us?
Oh.
And I just think that, it's actually that thing across whole different areas. Because if you've got someone that's a graphic designer or someone that works in copy, or, it's a high level professional, they notice those little things about your social media account. And then people will be going, but hey, no, it's not about reaching just those people, but actually it extends to our care team as well. One of the things that I think people think it's just about the way you present on a Sunday. No. We pursue excellence in the way we care for people as well.
Yeah.
The way that we pastor people. We've got systems that help to make sure that we know how people are doing. We try and make sure that we've got good systems in place so that we do the best that we can in looking after them, the best that we can in supporting people when they're going through a tough time. We've got, we've been working this week about how we keep track of our prayer requests. We want to make sure that we do the best that we can when it comes to praying for people. When people submit a prayer request on a Sunday, we want to make sure that it's something we continue to pray for consistently through the week, that actually the things that people ask us to pray for in the week make it into our Sunday services. All of that stuff, pursuit of excellence just impacts every area of what we do, trying to do the best that we can, remove the distractions, but also give people the best possible experience of who God is.
Funny story, in the days before social media, I took photographs, and I was a missionary in Thailand, and I wanted some people to realize that we had some time off and that we were having a beach holiday with the family for a week, and I took a couple of photos of me. Unbeknownst, in the background were a number of topless women. I didn't see it. It was a number of my supporting churches that wrote back to me and said, did you realize? I went, oh my gosh.
To people.
I'd sent them out to all my supporting churches. Yeah, about 30 copies of that photo went out to all of my supporting churches. And so I had to write to them all very, very quickly. It was in the days before email. So it was like I had to phone them up and say, I'm so sorry. I'm just saying that the pursuit of excellence can, if you don't pursue excellence, it can be expensive. It can impact on your integrity. I didn't want people to think I was at a nude beach or anything. Do you know what I'm saying? I wanted people to understand that as a good father and husband, that I was taking my wife and my family on a family holiday so that we had an opportunity to recharge. And that's what it was all about. Yeah. But I sort of lost it a bit there.
It's interesting you mentioned integrity, because I think that's what the pursuit of excellence is, isn't it? It's integrity. It's a matter of character. A lot of the culture points we talked about really are a matter of character, but really that's what it is when it comes to the pursuit of excellence. It's, am I prepared to do a half-hearted job? Am I someone that gives a little bit less than my best for whatever reason? Because, because I just can't quite be bothered to do more. But actually I think it's an integrity issue, really. It's a character issue. And that's one of the things that I think is so powerful about this. We see people who have been in our church for years who have such an impact in their world. I think about some of the guys who have gone on and, who are involved in non-profit organizations or working in medicine, or teachers who have promotions, and, you know, all of those. And actually, it's so great. And I think grasping hold of that sense of the pursuit of excellence is such a key part of that journey, because what boss doesn't want an employee who pursues excellence? You know, not just because we turn up on a Sunday and say, hey, we're going to do the best we can here, but actually in whatever situation we're in. You know, what wife has ever said, you know what, the problem with my husband is he just keeps working at this marriage. He just wants to be the best it can be. He wants to be the best husband he can be. Nobody complains about this stuff. And I think that's, you know, so significant about this idea of pursuing excellence.
It's a challenge. And, you know, this pursuit of excellence is played out in our church every week, because we've made this an intentional, on purpose ingredient into the life of our church. From the barista to those who make sure our bathrooms are clean and are fresh. You know, every week I see heroic acts of excellence worked out by our teams as they seek to reflect the excellence of God in the way that they do church, in the way that we do church.
Yeah.
I remember in the early days, our church was criticized because of our promotional brochures and postcards and invites, etc. You know, we were one of the first churches, obviously, that leased a photocopy machine that could do high quality reproductions of photographs and graphics. And we just happened to have a whole group of people in the life of our church who were graphics majors at university and stuff like that. And the stuff that we produced was absolutely brilliant, still is today. But people were going, oh, it's proclaimers people, you know, they're all, you could get criticized for being excellent, but I think it's more jealousy than it is criticism. You know, one of the other criticisms was, oh, these people from proclaimers, they all walk around like they're leaders. You know, again, I don't think that's a valid criticism. I think it's a result of jealousy. I think what people do is, who are performing at below excellence, who are not performing well, who are half-hearted in their work, you know, who allow the defaults of everybody around them to pull them down. They become obscure, and when you become prominent, they want to be critical of that. I think it's called the tall poppy syndrome or something like that. You know, people see what good stuff you're doing and they want to bring you down to size again. And, you know, again, I don't believe it's true criticism. I think it comes out of a spirit of jealousy, because that's what they see. You know, it's interesting. God says he was jealous as well over his own glory. And, you know, I think there's something about that, you know, for us. We need to take jealousy, flip it on the outside, and become, as God was saying, you know, to pursue it with all of our heart, this sense of excellence. In Proverbs 22 and verse 29, it says, do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not be obscure. You know, you were talking about people in the workforce. When they pursue excellence, they will be brought before higher levels of bosses and managers, because they see what sort of work they're doing, and you won't be obscure. You know, what happens is, in the organizational world, in the business world, in government, you know, you do a phenomenal job and people are going, oh, wow, well, this is great. This is brilliant. When you do a really, really bad job, again, you get criticized. Yeah. So, you know, Proverbs 22:29 is powerful. Do you see a man skillful in his work? And, you know, that's, I think, where the pursuit of excellence comes in.
Yeah. And I think it's not even just about promotion necessarily. It's about sometimes just the impact that you have. You know, some people are excellent at encouraging others. They're excellent at supporting others. And actually that stuff has an impact in the workplace, you know, regardless of whether the boss notices, in a sense. It's about whether your colleagues see that as well. And actually whether then that becomes a good representation of God. I think one of the reasons people criticize is they seem to think that because we say we want to pursue excellence, that we, you know, that there's a pride to it, that we think that we are the best. But actually, I think it's about, we want to do our best to represent God as best we can. And I don't see that as being a pride thing. I actually see that as being a humble thing. But actually, we're saying, finished article, we've not arrived, we've not done all that we need to do, but actually we believe that we can still take further steps forward in our relationship with God and do better. And to me, it's actually more proud to say, well, you know, I can't be bothered to develop any further.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do any better. You take it like it or lump it. This is all I'm going to bring. Like for me to under prepare a message and jump on stage and chuck it out there to the congregation and be like, oh yeah, well, I couldn't be bothered to spend an extra couple of hours in research. I couldn't be bothered to look at what that word actually means in the original language. You know, I could have put an illustration here, but I couldn't really be bothered to think of one. To me, that's much more proud than me going, I'm going to take a bit more time to craft this. I've got time. I'm going to do a bit more to do a better job with what I have here.
I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. You know, the pursuit of excellence flows out of humility, because it's our earnest desire to show the excellence of God, of Jesus. It's not showing how good we are. That's one of the last things that we want to do. We want to show how great God is. We want to bless him. We want to lift up his name. All of that is a result of humility, you know, and that's got to be something that's intentionally developed in our heart through the development of our character and our integrity. The pursuit of excellence makes people and organizations stand out. And, you know, there's no glory in doing a half-hearted job. The half-hearted spirit's got no power, no influence, no voice, no fulfillment. There's no innovation. There's no creativity. It leads to a mediocre life. The half-hearted spirit. If you do stuff half-heartedly, I think we're really letting down God and his church as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily saying that, it's not saying that we think we're marvelous all the time. It's actually the opposite of that. It's saying that we want to be on that consistent journey, I think, just of getting better with what we have, what we do, better in the way. And I say that because I'm a perfectionist, if I'm completely honest. And I think, sometimes we think, oh,
really?
Yeah, I don't like to, but, in some ways it feels like a curse that I can't help but see the details sometimes. You said about spotting the details. I can't help but see the details and can't help but think through all the consequences of the details. And, let me say as a perfectionist that I don't think that, pursuit of excellence is not the pursuit of perfection. And I think that's the thing. You've got to, sometimes you can just beat yourself up over this stuff all the time, and you can really do yourself no favors if you're not careful. You push this out the other way, but actually that doesn't mean that we should stop trying. A correct response to being a perfectionist is not just to give up. It's actually to say, well, how can I harness this gift that God has given me to see the details sometimes, and how can I accept that you got to accept that God doesn't love you because you get it right, but actually out of the love and grace that God puts onto our lives, we should represent him as well as we can in whatever.
And I forgot my thought then. Very good. Oh, I know what I was going to say. When a wise and insightful leader knows how to get the best out of his team, and when it comes to being a wise and insightful leader, understanding when a particular team member has done the best they can do with the resources at hand. I mean, you think back to the days when we were in the hotel, it was really awful.
Yeah.
Compared to what it is today. But it was really good back then, and we drew great crowds, and lots of people got saved, and but we had to clean up vomit most Sunday mornings down the area there, clean toilets because they were filthy, and we worked so hard. And team members were up at 5 a.m, getting down to the lockup to pack everything into the van, get it to the church have it all set up by 10 o'clock, and it was amazing days. They were amazing days. But a wise and insightful leader knows also when a member of his team is feeling tired or discouraged or down or weary, and that's where we come in, and we work out how to minister encouragement and affirmation at those times as well. Our pursuit of excellence influences and infuses, I should say, every part of Proclaimers, from that 3-minute offering talk to the, how do I do it?
30.
No, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. No, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
I'll get it right in a minute. 30-minute talk. Okay.
Yeah,
So 3-minute offering talk to a 30-minute message. The pursuit of excellence infuses every area of the life of our church. From how we set out chairs to the way that we do teas and coffees, and from the way our kids' ministries got themselves sorted out, from the quality of our disciples. And that's really important when we're pursuing excellence. It's not just making sure that every light bulb works. It's the quality of those who lead in the life of our church. Unfortunately, over the years, there's been numbers of people who weren't very good at the areas of administration or organization, which it's really, really important. I've made this a point right from the very beginning of the life of our church. None of us have PAs, personal assistants. I expect you to answer your own phone calls and answer your own emails and respond to your text messages as well, so that you can prepare all that you need to prepare. Yeah, sometimes we need some help to do all of that. But I expect people to be, organized. God's in the details. And that's where we can't let some of these details fall. It also shows in the way that we're committed to touching the life of the unchurched as well. We know that it's a big ask for people to walk into the life of the church, to get out of their car. And the numbers of stories we've heard of people that have driven up to our car park and then driven away 3 or 4 times before they've actually haven't found enough courage to walk into the life of the church. That's why I think online is so good. They can sit in the privacy and the anonymity. How do you say it? Anonymity?
I can't say it myself now.
They can be anonymous. Anonymity, that's a word.
Yeah.
And they can be anonymous at home and tune in. That's why it's really important for what we do, when it comes to our online content as well. But, I just believe with all my heart that the pursuit of excellence is an awesome ingredient to the life of our church and to its culture. And we will continue to strive to the best of our ability, and even beyond the best of our ability, to see the excellence of God in the life of everything that we do in our church. So,
yeah, that's so good, Tom. I think there's so much, so much in this. We've gone longer than we normally go, actually. I think because once you get into this, I was just thinking as you were saying that, about the organization, because sometimes doing the best you can is actually doing the best you can with your team by giving them time to prepare, giving them rest so that they can be at their best as well. All of that stuff comes into it. And I think our online journey is a great example of this, that actually we went suddenly, as we went into lockdown, we've suddenly had to adapt and grow. And I think as you watch the services over the weeks, you've seen what it looks like to actively pursue excellence, to week in, week out, try and get better at what we're doing. I think it's a really exciting time in that sense. Is there anything else you want to say before we...
No, let's land this plane.
Right, well, we'll draw it to a close there. Just to mention a couple of things. First of all, as we have been doing, we'll have a Q&A on the weekend about this. The details will be on our social media, but we'd love for you to join us for that. I think that's going to be really interesting to have that opportunity as a conversation off the back of this, just to dig into this. I'd love to hear what people's questions are. So do join us for that if you can, and bring your questions, and we'll interact on Instagram on that. The other thing just to say is that we've come to the end of the Culture Points, but we haven't come to the end of our Culture Club podcast. I know some people have been wondering, are we just going to do enough sessions to cover the Culture Points? Well, actually, we've got a lot more to say about culture.
We do.
That's the next time we do one of these, we're going to be looking at the 4 C's of culture, which is going to be really exciting. And then we've got some really interesting plans for what we're going to do in the podcasts that happen after that. So we're going to keep going weekly. And we'd love for you to keep joining us. We'd love to hear your comments, which are always open. If you're, on YouTube, or if you listen to it on Apple and Spotify, please like it, share it, all of that kind of stuff. We've never mentioned that before, but I've been listening to podcasts this week, and I know these are the kind of things podcasters should do. So like, subscribe, share, whatever else it is that you're meant to say at this point. But anyway, it's been great that you've been able to be with us. Thank you so much again, Pastor Tom. Thank you for the way that you've always modeled this and set the example for it. And thank you to those who have been able to join us. You guys take care, and we will see you again very soon.
Amen. Bless you guys.